Hello, this is OverlordBou, and we're back with another ship review video, and today we'll be looking at the new dockyard ship, the Tier 8 Pan-American BB, the Atlantico. You can start working to get this ship in the upcoming patch that's going to be released on April 14th, and I would recommend this ship as you grind down the dockyard line and pay pretty much the minimum amount of stages, around 3,000 doubloons to about 5,000 normally, and I'll explain why in this video. So the build will be showing up on the top right, and in the order you should be getting the skills if you don't have a 21-point captain. You can pause the video to make sure you remember all the with the skills and also the modules as well, so make sure you don't forget that. Now I would recommend a secondary build slash tank build for Atlantico. You can pick CQC if you don't want to take manuals, so perfectly up to you. It's more down to the player preference. And you can also just do a standard BB tank build instead if it's also fits your fancy. Now let's talk about the armor and survivability. Now the ship's HP is 60,100 and the armor scheme will be shown on the top right. It has a bow and stern of 32 millimeters with a 51 millimeter deck with a 31% torpedo protection. It does have an underwater citadel with a 51 millimeter deck, shrugs off most HE shells. Overall, the fairly sturdy BB due to her respectable armor plating and difficult to hit citadel. The Atlantico can survive for a while under gunfire, though torpedoes will take her down fairly quickly. This complements her firepower at close range, as Atlantico's durability lets her make good use of her secondaries. Moving on to the primary guns, over on the top right you'll be seeing here is the dispersion of 100 shots from 10 kilometers away to show the dispersion. I use Shipbuilder to help showcase this to make sure to thank them for that. There are 5 twin 381mm 42 guns with an A, B, Q, X, Y layout. The gun range is 18.6 kilometer base range with a 30-second base reload, and the 180 turret traverse of 30 seconds. You can fire 30 degrees off the bow and 30 degrees off the stern. It does have a French-British dispersion of 1.8 sigma. There is no HE on the Atlantico, with only having AP damage of 10,700, with 25 millimeter overmatch with a 45 through 60 ricochet, which is pretty normal. Now with the short main battery range, excellent turret firing angles, average shell travel time, it has the same shells as Vanguard except the AP alpha. The Atlantico's guns are overall acceptable. Players who have played Vanguard or Monarch will find Atlantico's guns to have very similar handling. While her guns are unremarkable in most aspects, she's notably lacks HE shells. Her low gun range is partially mitigated by her amazing concealment, only surpassed by Monarch, though it will be an issue when up-tiered and versus CVs. However, her lack of HE means Atlantico struggles against bow and BBs and Ds to a certain extent. Note that she carries normal AP shells with no special characteristics. These aren't crippling weaknesses, but she will struggle in certain situations, like against 27mm armor cruisers and in large maps. But let's moving on to the secondary armaments. There's 10 single 127mm 38 guns with 1800 HE damage with 21mm of pin with a 5.7 reload. There's also 8 twin 234mm/50 guns with 3,850 HE damage with 39mm pen with 11.9 second reload. And the minimum secondary range is 7.9 kilometers with an 11.3 kilometer max range when you build into it. The 127 guns have German BB secondary accuracy, slightly better than normal. The 234mm guns have Georgia / German battlecruiser second accuracy, very accurate guns. Overall, the Atlantico's secondaries are quite effective due to her accurate 234 guns and long range. They will do considerable damage even to BBs given enough time. The 127mm guns are there to start fires, but don't expect much direct damage. What truly makes her secondaries terrifying is that her concealment almost matches her secondaries' range. In other words, Atlantico's secondaries will open fire almost as soon as she is detected. Unprepared enemies are forced to choose between dying to a hail of secondary fire or risking a turnout to a full BB salvo. For the depth charges, you get 3 charges of 250 pound of MK8s with 2 depth charges dropped per charge that do 2300 damage with a range of 10 kilometers and have a reload of 37 seconds. Pretty good for tier 8 BBs. For the anti-air defense, you have 4 inner flak and 1 outer, with a far DPS of 95, a mid of 336 DPS, a near of 343 DPS. It's above average anti-air, but still generally not good enough to stop strikes, except from tier 6 CVs. For maneuverability, the ship has a max speed of 25 knots, with a turning radius of 790 meters, with a rudder shift of 15 seconds. It is the second slowest BB at tier 8, only faster than the Kansas. Yikes. Relatively small turning radius, good rudder shift time. While her turning performance is very good, Atlantico suffers from her very slow speed. While she will struggle with positioning, especially on larger maps where she is slow to change positions. Faster and higher tiered enemies can also overrun Atlantico if she isn't careful. Now, for her concealment, it has a 14.2 kilometer base for sea, and air it has 11.1. When you build into it, the best is 11.5 kilometers and 9 kilometers for air. It has excellent surface detection for BBs, only beaten by the Monarch. Atlantico's excellent concealment complements her secondaries very well. She can get in close to any enemy before unleashing a hail of secondaries or a powerful broadside salvo. Now for the consumables, it gets a US type BB DCP with a 20-second immunity period with an 80-second reload. It does get the standard repair party heals with 0.5% of a total HP for 28 seconds with 4 charges base. Now let's go over the overall impressions I think of this dockyard ship, the Atlantico. It has a low skill floor and a low skill ceiling. The Atlantico is a Pan-American tier 8 BB available in the upcoming dockyard event. The dockyard event will be very similar to previous versions, with players able to earn progress by playing the game or paying for tokens to complete the ship. Now during the replay, you're going to notice that I shoot this Cleveland I think 3 times with full salvos and I do nothing but overpins. I just want you to understand how angry I was at this, because I did nothing but overpins and I thought for sure I was aiming low enough. But, you know, sometimes when cruisers show broadside, the shells just go through, so yeah, I just want you guys to realize how pissed off I was at this. But anyway, back to the script I was reading. The ship herself is a capable secondary focus BB thanks to her accurate 234mm guns and great concealment. Her playstyle is very similar to the German BBs, get within secondary range and outbrawl everyone else. Unlike most German BBs, Atlantico has a low surface detection, allowing her to close the distance more easily. Her main guns are no slouch either, remaining effective against broadside targets. However, her relatively low pen makes it harder to citadel other BBs, so aim for the belt unless at close range. Atlantico's main weakness is her lack of speed. 25 knots is very slow at tier 8, and she will struggle with positioning. While still acceptable at lower tiers, higher tier maps are less forgiving, and Atlantico is in constant danger of getting overrun. Overall, the Atlantico is a respectable BB, not as strong overall as a Master or a Lenin, but still good in her own right. I would say don't expect too much outside of 12 kilometers. Try to keep the fight within the 12-kilometer area. She is fairly forgiving, so for less experienced players, we'll have a better time with the ship. For randoms, I'd say it's mediocre to average, a strong secondary BB with respectable firepower, but suffers when up-tiered. For ranked, I would say it's good, powerful secondaries and respectable durability, but overall, not as the same levels of Massachusetts or Lennon. So if you don't have the Massachusetts or Lennon, this ship would definitely make a good addition to your port. And even if you do have them, it would still make a good addition. I still plan on getting this ship, and it looks like a lot of fun to play. During my time playing the ship, I've really enjoyed playing as a secondary ship, using the concealment to my advantage, being able to move up onto the enemies. Now, during this match, as you can see, I'm being attacked by the Enterprise, or I was for most of this match. It was pretty devastating. Same thing with the submarine earlier on. I was able to do a lot of maneuvers since it does have a small turning radius, but the slow speed did kind of make it pretty difficult for me to dodge. Later on, you'll see the Oland is going to come up by me and help protect me from this Enterprise. Now, during most of the dockyard events, I do, since this is a pretty much a free ship, except for paying a bare minimum of like 5,000 doubloons or like 6,000 around there, I do believe that this ship is worth the doubloon price that they're going to be asking for. Every time they always have to pay, if you want to complete this all the way, you have to buy a bare minimum stages. You get a lot of awards along the way during the grind. So I always feel like even if you don't want the ship, the awards themselves are worth it in the end. And the Atlantico is definitely worth the awards. The ship is a lot of fun to play if you enjoy secondary brawling ships. The 234 secondaries are very accurate and do a lot of damage. And the smaller 127 secondaries, they just start a lot of fire, so it's definitely a lot of fun with that as well. Now, during this match, even though I did say the anti-air isn't the best, I was able to shoot down a lot of the Enterprise planes, but thankfully the Olin was here to help carry me. In the end, though, the Olin did die. It was a tragic event. The Olin did die to the Enterprise at the very end. It was pretty sad. If y'all can give some F's in the comment sections for my boy Olin, who pretty much protected me from the evil Enterprise, I'd appreciate it. Thank you, thank you. And during this match, as you guys were saying earlier, I was being harassed by the submarine and by a lot of different ships, and I was able to maneuver and dodge them effectively with the turning radius. So I do find this ship to be able to maneuver and be able to dodge very nicely with that. It just has a problem with being able to outrun the enemy, because it does have a very, very slow. It is very slow. It's almost as slow as a Kansas, which is one of the slowest ships in the game. Just literally the giant snail. Yeah, I don't like slow ships, but for the Atlantico, I'll make an exception for it this time. Since this is the first Pan-American battleship that we've seen in the game, I'm pretty interested to see if they plan on making ships similar to the Atlantico as the actual line, if they do have a line coming out, or if they're just going to have different ships completely off from the Atlantico in the future. It would definitely be interesting to see if they plan on keeping the same kind of concept, or if they're going to go with a totally different concept for future Pan-American battleships. Now, the rest of the match is just me going to the cap and doing no more damage, and the match is being capped out. So let's look over the stats of the match. So I did 133,000 damage with 49 target hits, 25 planes shot down with 5 destroyed, 6 fires, and 1 flood and 1 citadel, with 98 secondary hits and 5 depth charges. I was top of the team with 2,232 base XP. Pretty nice, pretty nice. I'll take that, I'll take that. I did the most damage to the Enterprise with 45,000 damage, Romo next with 35,000, Cleveland 25, and the sub with 12. As you can see, I did 84,000 with the main guns, 40,000 with the secondaries, with 98 secondary hits doing the 40k. That's pretty impressive. With only 4k fires though, not really that much fires, sadly. But we did destroy 11 torpedo bombers, 2 bombers, 5 attack planes, and 7 aircraft kills, like the fighter kills. But yep, this is OverlordBou. Again, I'm still working on some new editing style. I did get a new software, so if you guys enjoy the new editing, just definitely let me know. I do appreciate it. But yep, this is OverlordBou. And if you have any questions or concerns, just let me know. Again, I do recommend this ship for the Dockyard event. And yep, talk to y'all later. Oh, big stretch, dude. Oh, big stretch, yeah.